And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Payson Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, October 13th, 8 EST, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. I'm your host, Payson Johnson. Sorry I couldn't have a show last week. It's just one of those weird weeks. I rarely have them anymore, where I just didn't have time to see literally any movies, so couldn't really do a show last week. But I'm excited to talk with you guys tonight because we are reviewing two brand new movies that just came out this week. That being Tron Ares, the newest Tron film, as well as the real-life Tron, based on a true crime story, Roofman, starring Channing Tatum. I say we jump right into the show, starting with our first movie tonight, Tron Ares. This is directed by, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Joachim Running. I looked that up earlier. This is the third entry in the Tron film. First Tron movie came out in 1982. Second one, Tron Legacy, came out in 2010. This is the first one in 15 years, and this one is set, again, once well into the future, and it is now centered on a highly specialized AI program called Ares. Ares is created by the current head of NCOM by the name of Julian Dillinger. Julian Dillinger is the son. Actually, he's not the head of NCOM. He is starting a competing company, and he is someone who is essentially trying to gain control of NCOM again. If you remember the name Dillinger, he was the villain in the first Tron film who ended up kicking out Harry Flynn, played by Jeff Bridges in that original film, and he has created Ares, which is a new AI program that is meant to protect computer software from cybersecurity breaches. The AI program is represented in human form of Ares is represented in human form by Jared Leto, and he is essentially tasked with trying to find the main key from NCOM to essentially gain master control of NCOM from the current head of NCOM, Eve Kim, played by Greta Lee. Throughout the film, Ares is trying to track down is trying to track down Eve, and eventually the key is inserted into her, and around halfway through this film, Ares goes rogue from his creator because he doesn't want to kill a human being, and now it is both Eve and Ares on the run from Julian's other computer henchmen in order to get the key to a safe place, and in order to keep NCOM out of Julian Dillinger's hands. I think just get this out of the way, I am a big fan of both the first Tron and Tron Ares. They are like they are very like hokey sci-fi things where it's like super ultra like technological like technobabble stuff, but I just find that really, really charming. I think the colors of all the Tron films look really, really well. I think the music is always super fun. The characters are not necessarily the things I really remember the most about those movies. Like, yes, I remember Harry Flynn from the first one, but that's just because I know who Jeff Bridges is. So going into this movie, I really just wanted to have a fun, another fun sci-fi film in this futuristic world. And I kind of feel like we got that. I think the major setback with Tron Ares is it just doesn't seem to have the charm and the whimsifulness of those first two Tron films. Like, yes, those first two Tron films, they take themselves seriously, but there are these characters in these tight skin tight suits. They're always blue. Whenever they are in the grid, they always have like this silverish skin. It never took itself too seriously, and I think there was always like a bit of fun to that. I think the number one downside with this movie is that everything seems to be taking itself so deeply seriously. We have this backstory with Eve's character where she wants NCOM to succeed because her sister just recently passed away, which isn't like bad backstory by any means, but I think but I think that just adds a little bit too much like heavy stakes to this film. And the characters are never really making these sorts of jokes. Evan Peters is trying to is trying to bring a little levity by playing this like ultra tech billionaire in like a really cartoonish way, even though it comes off in a really, really annoying way, in a very cliche way, which I'll get to later. But I really do just feel like the fact that this movie lacking the charm of those first two films, I think just makes it set back just a little. But where this movie does go up to the task of those first two films is in terms of visuals and in terms of a technical level. This movie is an absolute masterclass. The visuals the visuals that this movie creates, both in the computer world and in the outside world, when certain elements end up coming into our universe, looks absolutely magnificent. I think I think they captured those sleek visuals that I think these movies are known for so well. Like if you look at the designs of these movies, all like the robots and all the computers look so slick and so crisp. They're all in these cool black suits, and there's no creases on them. Everything looks just super futuristic and super like high tech. And I feel like a lot of sci-fi movies doesn't do that. In this one, you really, really feel that no corners were cast in the CGI. The CGI looks absolutely incredible in this film, specifically in the action scenes. I think the action is absolutely incredible when you are seeing things like blow up, when you are seeing like blasters go off. You genuinely feel like you are in a very immersive world that Joachim Roning is able to create. The sound design is also excellent. I saw this movie in the Dolby Cinema. If you are going to see this movie, I would recommend seeing it in the most immersive cinematic fashion that you can, whether that is IMAX, whether that is Dolby, because on a technical level, this movie is an absolute masterclass. Not only are the visuals excellent, the score by Nine Inch Nails, which I looked up. I don't know why the score is credited towards Nine Inch Nails when Nine Inch Nails is just Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross at this point, who are notable composers at this point. But regardless, Nine Inch Nails creates an incredible score that heavily uses synthesizers to make the electronic sounds just sound very, very futuristic. Like in terms of capturing a setting, and in terms of capturing that sound of what you think this world would sound like, the score is absolutely incredible. Within like the first 10 minutes of this film, when you are first introduced to the character of Ares, you just see him like taking out all these like computer simulation robots, and you are just hearing the score just go off. And whenever I do these reviews, I try to talk in a little bit more professional of a manner, but I can't help but say it. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross were absolutely cooking when they were making the score. In the way they make their sounds just sound so interesting and just sound so loud. And you can't help but just feel like the action just feels bigger because of the score. I'm a huge film music nerd, and I feel like a lot of people aren't quite, but when they hear good music in a movie, it's easy to recognize, and this is one where I think it is going to stand out in the best way possible. So while you're hearing a lot of good things about this movie from the technical aspect, I think the issue with this film, and the reason why I'm struggling to even say if I can recommend you go see it, is the movie is excellent until the characters start talking. This is a movie that has a lot of characters, and none of them are really interesting. And unfortunately, all three of the main lead cast members aren't really given anything through both the script, and also they don't really get up to the task of delivering something on their own. Greta Lee, I feel like, is trying her best in this character of Eve Kim, but I don't think the movie really gives her anything. I don't know whether she is supposed to be this stern, broken down CEO that is trying to fight for this good cause, or if she's like this awesome action badass character that the movie also tries to make her go through. In the action scenes, she is able to pull those off. Shout out to Greta Lee. I believe she did her own stunts. She is an actress I do actually really like. I really loved her in past lives. I loved her voice work in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. She was really funny in the studio if you watch that TV series. But here, I just think the script just under-delivers her character, where I just can't think of anything that really defines her from other action heroines we see in other sci-fi films. Jared Leto, I know he's kind of a punching bag when it comes to a lot of movie critics, and while I do think he can be good at times, I do believe he has given good performance. I really love him in Panic Room. I think he's very good in Girl Interrupted. I think he's very good in American Psycho. I think when they use him right, I think Jared Leto can be a very good actor when he's playing a very smarmy character. I just think I don't understand why so many blockbusters as of recently are leaning their movie on Jared Leto and making him the main character. Because when you have him play this like stoic, emotionless computer program that slowly learns to have more humanity through the characters around him, when that's Jared Leto, when he's trying to play like the everyman by the end, you just don't believe it, and you just end up rolling your eyes by this guy that just doesn't seem to understand what human emotions quite are. When by the end he should be able to grasp that. And watching this movie, I'm like, man, if you would have cast like a Ryan Gosling in this role, or maybe like a Bradley Cooper in this role, I think you could have had something really, really special. But the fact that Jared Leto is here, I think just brings this movie so many points down. Where I want to say go out and see this movie, but Leto just doesn't bring anything to this role and doesn't make you invested in the character of Ares. Like I said, Evan Peters plays Julian Dillinger. We've seen a lot of movies recently where the villain is this like tech CEO billionaire that is trying to use his money to get a stronger grasp on power and on the world. And this is maybe one of the like most milquetoast versions of that trope. I think that trope can be done well. I really loved Superman earlier this year. I think Nicholas Hoult did a great job as Lex Luthor. This feels like Lex Luthor light in a way, and Evan Peters just does nothing with this character to make that to make that archetype stand out in this role. I think towards the end of the film, it starts to get a little bit more interesting when his computers start to grow a mind of his own and form their own mission. And when he starts to realize he's losing control, and you see that like cowardice there, I think if he would have played that part a little better, like if that element would have been throughout the character throughout the entire movie, I know that could have made the character a lot more interesting. But as it is, this just ends up being a very stereotypical character. Yeah, just looking at my notes. Okay, something I didn't want to tackle. So as I've said, this movie primarily does take place in our world, which is a first for the Tron films. Normally, they are in this computer world called the Grid. This is the first time where you are having these computer programs step out into our universe. And okay, so first things, I just want to give the movie points. It does look like a real movie. You never feel like the real world is like being shot on a sound stage, because you can tell a lot of money was put into the production of this film. And while I think the idea of taking the computer programs and putting them in our world is good in theory, I think it just reminds you how charming the Grid is, and it keeps making you want to go back into the computer world, so that way we can see even more creative visuals instead of just seeing these characters who do look really cool in just this normal looking universe. But I do understand why. Hey, we've had 3 of these movies so far. Why don't we get away from the Grid? I just think watching this movie did make me realize, man, I do really miss the Grid. And I will say there are scenes where you do get to go back into the computer. It does look really cool. They do a lot of unique things there. I just think I personally wish we could have gotten a little bit more of that. The last thing I want to say before I give final scores, and maybe this is just like a personal thing, so don't take this with a grain of salt. I just think in a world where we are having so much AI stuff pushed down our throats, specifically from big corporations, which you can tell are trying to get us to essentially just what's the word? Not necessarily understand it, but just sort of like live with it in a way. I think making a movie where you have this AI essentially be the main hero and be the character that sympathizes with our main human lead and show like, hey, see, we can work together. I do understand in theory why a writer might want to take that point of view. I just think right now with all the jobs and all the specifically the creative jobs that are being taken by AI and all the generative AI bullcrap we are seeing in our world, I think making this type of movie right now just feels a little tone deaf. Maybe that's just me. Let me know if you feel the same way. But yeah, I do just feel like making a movie right now where it doesn't even try to make like any sort of attack on the idea of artificial intelligence. I just think that is just a little bit tone deaf, and I would like to see that from major studios. I'm not someone that thinks that like, oh, we can't have any sort of AI in our life because it's kind of hard to put the genie back in the bottle with it now being out here. But I think I just don't want to see it anywhere in regards to the creative landscape. But yeah, I say we jump right into final scores. We review movies here on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely awful, 10 being absolutely incredible. I think I'm going to give Tron Ares. This is tough. I'm going to give it a barely passing 6 out of 10. There are a lot of things I think this movie does wrong. It doesn't have the charm of those original movies. I don't think the characters are that interesting. But the only reason I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 is because I can't help but recommend this movie on a pure visual and technical level. I think the visuals are stunning. I think the score is immaculate. And if you are going to see this movie, if you have any minuscule amount of interest in this film, go see it in the biggest theater possible, because that is how you're going to get the most out of this film from what they're trying to do. But yeah, with that being said, even though I am recommending you see this in theaters if you're going to go see it, I can't really call it a good movie, and I do just think it's just sort of okay. But I said we head right into our second review of the night, that being, I should probably take the score off my screen. Our second review of the night, that being Roofman, directed by Derek C. in France. This is a true story about a guy from the mid-2000s who ended up robbing, I believe the number is over 40 McDonald's, ended up going to prison, and ended up escaping that prison and hid out for many months in a in the roof of a Toys R Us. The character by the name of Jeffrey, I believe his name is Jeffrey Manchester. Yeah, Jeffrey Manchester, played by Channing Tatum. You essentially, the plot of the movie is you follow that. You open up on this guy who's a former military guy. He is robbing McDonald's in order to make money to support his daughter, and he ends up getting caught by the police. He spends some time in the prison, ends up breaking out, and he ends up hiding out inside of a Toys R Us. Doesn't really hide under the roof. He hides out in like this median area. Kind of complicated to explain it without seeing the movie. But while he's in the Toys R Us, he ends up learning more about the staff through watching the security cameras. He ends up befriending one of the staff members, played by Kirsten Dunst. Her name is Lee. She is a single mother. They start to have a little bit of an attraction, but he also realizes that he has to get out of the state in order to officially go into hiding. He is helped by his friend, played by Lakeith Stanfield there, and a lot of mischief happens. A lot of dramatic stuff happens. This is a movie that I think the first thing I want to get off the bat is that if you have seen the trailers, you are probably expecting like a fun comedy, like a fun crime comedy caper of this guy always on the run, always just barely escaping getting caught at any instance. And the movie isn't really necessarily that. This movie is a lot more dramatic than I thought it was going to be. I think the best thing this movie does is it does show that, hey, Jeffrey Manchester, while he's not like a horrible guy, while he's not like a violent criminal at his core, I think one of the most important things this movie does is the first time we see him robbing McDonald's, he does show compassion where he robs it early in the morning. He ends up locking the staff members in a fridge, but one of the staff members doesn't have a jacket, so he's just like, Okay, fine. Take my jacket. And this is the thing that ends up getting him caught is he leaves a personal part of his behind at the crime scene because he doesn't want this person to go harmed inside this fridge while he's taking their money. So while it shows he's not like a complete scumbag, it also shows that like, hey, this guy is self-destructive. He is committing these crimes when he could take different steps in order to try to make a better life for his family. But the fact that he is always looking for essentially the easy way out in a way is always going to be his undoing. Channing Tatum is really, really good as Jeffrey Manchester. Tatum is becoming just one of those actors that I really enjoy. He doesn't do a ton of acting anymore, but I think it's just fun watching him just sort of evolve into like, the guy is like ridiculously good looking and he's super charming, which he is in this movie. But I also just think he is really, really good at playing the everyman in this movie. My favorite scenes in this film are when you are seeing Jeffrey interact with Lee's family, specifically his daughters. Lee's eldest daughter at first really doesn't like him and really doesn't trust him, but slowly as he starts to teach him how to drive, as he starts to befriend Lee more, she ends up opening up to him. And I think you just see that Tatum is at his best when he is playing these charming characters like this, and just this guy that can just like immediately walk into a room and become the most likable person there. But while Channing Tatum is very good in this movie, I think the standout of the cast, which the entire cast is good, the standout for me is Kirsten Dunst as Lee Wilson. She brings so much heart to this character where when we first open up on her, you see that she's in a really hard spot. Her husband just recently left her. She's been trying to raise her kids alone. She's working at Toys R Us. She's working a lot of hours. She has no sympathy from her boss, played by Peter Dinklage, who is an excellent asshole boss in this movie. Most of the laughs come from him, and I think he's really good. But no, just Kirsten Dunst adds so much heart to this character. You immediately understand why she would immediately become enamored with Jeffrey, watching them slowly start to fall in love, and watch Jeffrey want to take certain steps in order to create a potential better life with Lee. I think it's really nice, and just Kirsten Dunst just adds so much to this character that could have easily maybe been like a little underwritten, but she adds so much to this part. Something I think Derek Cianfrance does a really great job doing is he captures just the mundaneness but also the identity of mid 2000s America so well. It's set in North Carolina, but you see Blockbusters, you see Toys R Us's, you see different like video games of that time. All the references to mid 2000s America are super, super fun. There are a couple inaccuracies that I did notice. I'm not going to get into them because they are super sweaty, and I think most people aren't going to notice that. But I think the movie does a really great job of establishing its East Coast setting. I'm not entirely sure where you would describe North Carolina in terms of like it's. I know it's not Midwest. I know it's not Southwest. I guess you could say it's like northern eastern part of America, and I think Derek Cianfrance does a really, really great job of doing that. I will say I do think the movie is maybe a little bit too long. The movie clocks in at around a little over 2 hours, and I think there are. I think towards the end we start getting a little bit too many scenes of you see Jeffrey start to bond more and more with Lee's family, but then he realizes, okay, no, I need to escape, and then he bonds more and more, and then he's like, no, I need to escape. And while all those scenes are good, I think by the end, I think you're a little bit like, man, how much longer do we have with this movie? Which sucks because I do think the ending is extremely abrupt, and I think we could have maybe shaved off a little bit towards the middle of this movie and put it towards the end to make the ending seem a little bit more final. What I will say, like, there are great scenes in this movie, like when Jeffrey first gets to the Toys R Us and he's trying to dodge through the cameras before he eventually turns them off. So when he does turn them off at night, he can just essentially use the Toys R Us as his house and just like live there in any way he can. But in the first parts of the night, he's trying to use like those giant like claw arms in order to sneak M&Ms in order to eat. And that's really funny. Something I also found really nice about this movie, it weirdly does have a really nice undercurrent message about finding yourself through faith again, where Jeffrey starts to bond through Lee because he he sees Lee at the Toys R Us, but he meets her at the church she goes to because she's in charge of the toy drive, and just watching Lee take Jeffrey to church and how he starts to find himself through God. It's not like it's not preaching by any means. It doesn't shove it down your throat, but I do like the idea that Jeffrey is starting to find himself a little bit more through faith, but then eventually he realizes, no, I do have to get out. But I do like what Derek C. and Franz was doing, because you don't see that from a lot of movies. Something I did just want to say is this movie is based off a true story, so if this did actually happen, fair. At the same time, movies take liberties all the time, and I will say, with the amount of stuff that he was stealing from this toy store, I am shocked that he was able to live out in this Toys R Us unknown for months, with the fact that he is just constantly stealing stock, constantly eating the M&Ms, constantly changing the schedule of certain staff members at night in order to make sure they're not at the store when he needs to be doing stuff. Constantly stealing video games in order to sell them to pawn shops, in order to get money to go get more food. I just found the idea that he's doing all this and at no points are the authorities called sooner. I just found that a little perplexing, but if that really did happen, fair. Just something I noticed. And the last thing I did want to say, this movie does use narration specifically in the beginning to establish all the to essentially establish exposition. Probably could have done a little bit without it. I think narration is always just sort of a double-edged sword, where if it's used really well, it can be very memorable. When it's not used very well, it feels very tacked on. And this is just one I just felt like probably could have cut the opening narration by a bit, and we could have been given the exposition in a little bit stronger of a way. But yeah, that is just about all I have to say about Roofman. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a good score of a 7.5 out of 10. This is a movie that in no way do I think is like amazing. It's not one that like goes beyond to create like an incredible cinematic experience. But for what it's doing, I think it is really, really solid. I think Channing Tatum's super charming. I think it's a really fun story about this guy that's trying to that is trying to avoid the cops after a prison breakout. And I think for what it's doing, I think it's super solid, even though it doesn't reach that level of movies I truly adore. If you have any interest in this movie, I would say this is one that if you went to go see it in the theater, you will be happy you saw it. But yeah, this is definitely a movie that I would say check it out when you do have the opportunity to see it. But thank you all for watching this week's episode. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing After the Hunt, Luca Guadagnino's next movie, as well as either Good Fortune, the new comedy with Keanu Reeves and Seth Rogen, or which is directed by Aziz Ansari, who also stars in it, or The Black Phone 2, the sequel to The Black Phone. Thank you all for watching, and as always, watch more movies.
And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.